College football fans, welcome back to the Big Ten Quick Talk podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe down below and hit the like button. And today we're going to be, I will be giving you guys my top 12 teams for the new 12-team playoff bracket that will be debuting next year. And I know that it's the Big Ten channel. We're going to get into the Big Ten exclusive content coming soon. And if you're not affiliated with the Big Ten, I suggest that you still watch the videos so that you get a scope of what's happening in the Big Ten, because I know a lot about the Big Ten and I'm ready to give you guys my takes on the Big Ten. But nevertheless, we are going into the top 12 teams going into this into this 12-team playoff era. We're gonna have our first one this year. This is gonna be way too early. Obviously, a lot of these probably won't come true or where they're gonna be at, but nevertheless, we're gonna do it. And before we go further ahead, drop in the comments what playoff teams you have going. Maybe a surprise team going to the playoffs. All right, we're going to get right into it here. And to start off, my number one overall seed is the Georgia Bulldogs. You know, they don't have a lot of people transferring in. They don't have a lot of people transferring out. Really, their only big loss is Brock Bowers and the all-everything tight end. And really, just a big wide receiver. Let's be honest, he's a wide receiver that can block really well and play on the line. But, you know, they've already played without him this season. Off the top of my head, I think it was 3 games. And they played really well in that game. I think they even played Ole Miss without him, and they crushed them. And if you look ahead to their schedule, they have some very interesting matchups. They play some really tough teams like Bama. They'll play at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Alabama. They play at Ole Miss. You know, they play at Texas. So those games being away really don't help them out. But then, you know, they're opening up versus Clemson in the Aflac kickoff game. Games like that will be very interesting. They play Tennessee at home. But, you know, they've got the rest of their schedule is really doable. You know, an up-and-coming Auburn team they should still be able to handle. Mississippi State they'll handle. Florida they'll handle. Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, you know. These types of schools they will and Kentucky they will handle them pretty well. And it's not the hardest schedule that I've seen come out in the SEC or the Big Ten. But, you know, I think that since the schedule is doable, they're not losing a whole lot. Carson Beck, another year of development, and really he'll turn out to be a pretty darn good quarterback in my opinion. And I think just overall, as a head coach, shifting gears to Kirby Smart, I think he's going to take over that Nick Saban role in the SEC. Nick Saban was the legendary head coach. He was the alpha head coach in the SEC. Now, toward the end there, he lost a little bit of his guster, but you have Kirby Smart, who has won 2 national titles, and I think he's going to take over that role as the best, the most dominant, the most feared head coach in the SEC. So I think that Georgia, with their schedule, you know, they could even have 1 loss and probably do it because everyone's schedule is pretty evened out this year. So I think that Georgia gets the number 1 seed. My number 2 seed and the team that I have winning the Big Ten just going into this year as a very early playoff prediction is the Oregon Ducks. I think I'm super high on the Oregon Ducks. They have a loaded quarterback room, getting the 6-year senior out from Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel, and also getting one of the most higher rated prospects of this generation in Dante Moore from UCLA, rival school. So they're loaded there. Whatever skill position players they're losing, they're getting right back in the best 5-star. I think maybe even the best prospect in the portal in Evan Stewart. He's I think he's top 3. Just I'm remembering off the top of my head. It's the defensive lineman from Texas A&M, but the Texas A&M wide receiver who is 5-star rated in the portal, Evan Stewart, has committed to the Oregon Ducks. I think that the Oregon Ducks are going to be very good, and they're going to be ready for that Big Ten style of ball that Michigan plays, because they have 2 legit backs. They even kicked their third one out, who was a perfectly legitimate back, and I'm pretty sure he went to Nebraska. I saw that recently, and he's going to be very good there as well. But, you know, Oregon is just so loaded there. Their defense is going to be a little suspect. They're going to give up some points. But I think that their defense is going to come in through when it matters most. And their schedule, you know, like Georgia's, it does have those challenging spots. They play versus Ohio State. They play at Michigan. They play Washington. I think at Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's going to be very good this year, so I think that that's going to be a really interesting game. But they also have those games, that is going to be pretty easy. At Purdue, Illinois, UCLA. Uh, you know, I hate to call Oregon State an easy game, but Oregon State is going to regress a lot. Michigan State, Purdue, Illinois, I already said those guys. So this schedule is pretty easy on the scale. We're going to do, on this channel, we're going to do full big team breakdowns when it comes to the season. So I'll break down each and every game going into there and give a final prediction. But for now, I have Oregon winning most of those and winning the Big Ten championship and being the number 2 seed in this playoff. And at this number 3 spot, you guys are going to be a little bit shocked, but remember, it's the conference champions get the top 4 seed. And I have Utah winning the Big 12. This is important. They're going to be winning the Big 12. They might go 9-3 or 10-2. And other teams might look better. You might have an Ohio State that goes 11-1, but you might have a Texas that goes 11-1. But I think that Kyle Whittingham has done a great job as the Utah head coach. Cam Rising coming back to play football for Utah is huge for them. And their schedule right now, I'm looking at it right now, does not have a single ranked team on it. I mean, they obviously open up with their cupcakes. They're playing a Big 12 schedule, so it's Baylor, UCF, Arizona. That's going to be a hard game, but you never know what's going to happen since Jed Fish left and all the people the mass exodus out of there. You play Iowa State, TCU, BYU, Oklahoma State, at Houston, at Colorado, at Arizona State. So these games, those are all doable games. And Utah has a fabulous strength of schedule there for them. It's definitely not the hardest one, of the easiest in my opinion. So that combined with some great coaching by Kyle Whittingham, a healthy Cam Rising will really help them out. And I think that Utah will win about 9 to 10 of those games and slip into this 3rd seed here. And my 4th seeded team, the ACC champion, is the Syracuse Orange. You look at Syracuse and you say, wow, they did get Kyle McCord in the transfer portal, but they also got 2 wide receivers from Georgia, one a 4-star 6'1", 165 player from Pennsylvania, and the other a 6'2", 205, 3-star, very high 3-star player from Alabama. Sorry, I saw Phoenix and I thought it was Arizona. But you have these 2 guys coming in from Georgia. You also have guys like really highly rated linebackers coming in from West Virginia, have highly rated edge players coming out of Texas A&M, just looking at their transfer portal players. And you look at their schedule, and their schedule is a cakewalk. If there is any more left in college football with those players, and you're playing probably the easiest non-con I've ever seen with playing the Ohio Bobcats, Holy Cross, and UConn. Then you play at Boston College, at Cal, at NC State, at Pitt. The only game there that I could see them losing possibly is NC State, but I still think that they pulled that one out. They're undefeated going into 4 home games to close the season versus Georgia Tech, Miami, Stanford, Virginia Tech. Got to watch out for those Hokies. Those Hokies are going to be good. Not saying they're going to be good this year, but they're going to be good next in the coming years as well. They're on an upward trajectory. Brent Pry's doing very well. This isn't a Virginia Tech segment, so I'm going to get off of them. But really, you only see 2, maybe 3 losses on this schedule. And with a weaker ACC, I don't see Florida State going undefeated. I think Syracuse sneaks in here at the number 4 slot. And next up, at the number 5 slot, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. I know we have questions about Ryan Day, but I think that his team will be able to get there because they brought in Keyshawn Junkins, because they retained Travion Henderson. Those are 2 backs that are going to play him like Penn State did with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, but just probably better. Let's face it. Keyshawn Junkins and Travion Henderson are probably better than both of those players over at Penn State, just being honest. And you have those guys. You also get Will Howard coming in, who's a great dual threat quarterback. Maybe doesn't throw it as well as he runs it, but he's going to be able to throw it enough, and he has some fabulous 5-star wide receiver talents to do it, to throw the ball to. But the thing is with those 5-star talents is that they don't have that much experience with that, and that showed in the in their bowl game versus Mizzou this year. So I think that they're going to be on the rise, and I think that they're going to win 10 to 11 of their games. They play Oregon and they play Michigan, but I think that they're going to win enough to get to the next level and play as the number 5 seed. Next up at the number 6 spot, we have Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin has built a fabulous transfer portal class, a fabulous recruiting class, and that's really going to help them vault into this position. And they play a very easy schedule. I think they may have overscheduled one too many non-cons. They play 4 non-cons, and their hardest one is at Wake Forest, and that's going to be a cakewalk for this team, especially with Jackson Dart coming back. Their big loss is Keyshawn Junkins, but don't worry, they'll be able to play this air raid-ish offense, step away a little bit from the ground and pound because Keyshawn Junkins left. Really, the hardest teams that they play, obviously, number 1, Georgia. They play number 15, Oklahoma, and LSU, but those are their hardest games. They also play Arkansas, Florida, and Mississippi State. So I think that this schedule is very obtainable to get the amount of wins that they need to be the number 6 seed. Next up, my number 7 seed is Texas. Texas is still going to be back. They have Quinn Ewers coming back. I know he choked in that playoff game, but he's not going to choke in the regular season. He's going to be fabulous in the regular season. They're still going to have A.D. Mitchell on their team. They're still going to have a plethora of players left over from that team. And I think that Texas is not going to do as well as they did this year because their schedule is a little bit harder. It's not the hardest in the SEC. People keep saying that. It's not. That belongs to Florida. And at least a tough stretch of games. But that's beside the point. You have Texas. I think they're going to be very good. They're back, and they have Quinn Ewers back for another year, and he'll turn into a very good NFL player while there with Coach Sark. Moving on to my number 8 seed is Louisville. Louisville was very well coached in the ACC. They made it all the way to the title game for the ACC, which honestly is good enough to get to a number 8 seed. And they don't have a very tough schedule. They do play the teams like Florida State, but Florida State's going to be a little bit worse this year. That's really all they can be after going perfect and then getting blown out. So they're not going to be as good, and no one expects them to be as good. And so I think that Louisville, very well coached with Jeff Brom. You get Jack Plummer coming back, and I think that another year of development with him will really help them out to get to a number 8 seed. Moving on to my number 9 seed is Alabama. You have the GOAT, probably the greatest college coach to ever live, at least so far, in Nick Saban. He's retiring. You get Kalen DeBoer to come in, and you have players like Isaiah Bond leaving. You have a lot of players leaving, but you have a lot of players staying. So that really does help out Bama. Bama has a pretty decent schedule, but they're probably going to drop a couple. We can't expect them to keep getting double-digit wins. I see them as an 8-4, not an 8-4. I see them as a 9-3 team, slipping in here to number 9 because they have a tougher schedule than a lot of other teams on the fringe. And at number 10, I have Penn State. Penn State's schedule isn't very bad, and like I said, they have those 2 workhorses in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, and they're just getting developed another year together. And we have to have an honest talk about Drew Aller and what his capabilities are as a passer, because he did not show that he was good at all during the Ole Miss game, and really any big game. He did not step up in the Michigan game, the Ohio State game, and he just beat up on UMass. He pads the stats with UMass. Like half his stats were from UMass. I mean, come on. That's great that you can throw against UMass, but can you throw against these big-time programs? And it's only going to get harder with the big-time programs like Washington and Oregon coming into the Big Ten Conference that he's going to have to play eventually. So I do think that Penn State wins a plethora of games, and they sneak in at this number 10 spot. At number 11, I had serious debate with myself where this spot was going to go. I gave it to Arizona originally, but I think that K-State is going to come in here. Chris Kleiman, very good head coach, and I think that they'll be able, and their schedule's not that bad either, so I think that they'll slip in here at number 11. And at the number 12 slot is this is the group of 5 slot. This is the team that gets selected from the group of 5. And I had 4 choices here: Liberty, JMU, Boise State, and Tulane. All very good options. Tulane just got a very good wide receiver. Boise State obviously got the 5-star Malachi Nelson, and they have that blue field, which I very much like. JMU won a bunch of championships at the FCS level. They come in here, and they dang near went perfect again. So, but they do have their coach leaving for Indiana, and they're losing, I think, a wide receiver or two. And you have Liberty, who I'm going to pick here to be at this number 12 spot. They've already been here, and they're getting their quarterback back, who is very good. His name escapes me right now, but he's very good. He's coming back to Liberty. He withdrew his name from the transfer portal. They're really not losing anyone, and they're just gaining some. Their recruiting class for the group of 5 is very good. It's about average for the casual fan, but I think that they get in here. So, those are my playoff picks. If you like this playoff prediction and you want to see me predict the outcome of these games, drop a yes in the comments and I will assess it from there. Be sure to subscribe, share with a friend. We're trying to build up this Big Ten Quick Talk army that we're building up right now. Starting out a little slow, but we're getting it up there. And you can help by clicking subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.